The worst thing that you people can do as horse owners is let your feet get overgrown like this. I'll get my little laser pointer out here. Right here you can see where that hoof is overgrown and much further on this side. This is leading to a lot of problems when you allow your feet to overgrow like this. What it does is put a lot of pressure on the heels. You can see on this side where that hoof wall is overgrown the shoe, and that starts to break down. You get pressure underneath this shoe. That's going to cause bruising and tenderness. These horses aren't actually lame, but they're very much uncomfortable. This is the same view, only now this is from a farrier's perspective, so I've got the foot between my knees, I'm looking at it this way. So you folks can go home and pick up the foot as though you were going to clean the dirt out and get this same perspective. And again, you can see how wide this hoof wall is here. There's the end of the heel, and that's also the end of the shoe. This horse is not getting very good support. The previous lecture, that gentleman was talking about supporting your horse's feet. It's absolutely critical that we support these heels. Here's the same shoe, the same foot. All that's happened is we pulled the shoe off, we trimmed the foot, we nailed the shoe back on. Have not changed the shape of the shoe, have not changed the size or the style of the shoe. But now it's coming back and it's covering the heels on both sides. In the next view, you'll see where there's actually shoe exposed on both sides instead of hoof wall exposed. This is the way we need to be shoeing a horse, giving them room for expansion of the heels. This will keep a horse moving sound, and it will keep them in excellent condition for a long period of time. Another view of the same thing, and you can see how much of the heel here, the heel of the shoe, is exposed behind the heel of the foot. That is a reoccurring theme on all of my talks. You check with my customers in the barns, I'm constantly talking about supporting these feet and extending the heels of the shoe back. It's absolutely critical to soundness and motion. Another horse and another problem. You can see wall separations here, wall separations over there. This horse is very flat-footed, very thin-soled. It's sore all the time, and sore to the point that you really are not comfortable riding it. Horses with a very flat sole across here like this and a thin sole, they take a very short, choppy stride because the further they reach out, the more they hurt. Horses like that, this is my shoe of choice. It's a Happy Hoofwear shoe. It's a polyurethane shoe. Let me back up one step here. You'll notice on this foot I've got a flat spot in the sole, flat spot here in the sole all the way around. When I use a Happy Hoofwear shoe, I always leave that flat spot in the sole. Even though this is a tender horse, thin soled, I still leave the flat spot there. Now this shoe is resting on that flat spot as well as on the hoof wall. We've really increased the surface area, the weight-bearing surface area. So now there's much fewer pounds per square inch that horse is standing on. And horses respond very, very well to fewer pounds per square inch. This is a synthetic shoe. It absorbs concussion very well. This shoe is the difference of us standing on concrete or us standing on a rubber mat. So it's an excellent shoe for horses in general, but for lame feet, for any type of caudal heel pain, any type of tender soles, excellent shoe. And as I say, over the past 6 years has become my shoe of choice. Support the heels. It doesn't matter if it's a synthetic shoe, a steel shoe, an aluminum shoe. We really need to come back here and support the heels. The back of the shoe should be underneath the bulb. Farriers are taught to shoe the foot. Most farriers are taught to stop the shoe right there at the back of the heel. That's not enough. That tends to put too much pressure on the heels, causes them to collapse and roll under, causes them to be very sore. We need to come back and support the bulb. Here's the same view from the front. Now notice the conformation on this horse. Conformation is huge for foot and leg problems. As farriers, we can screw it up, but if we also do not take conformation into account, we screw it up even bigger. This horse is toed in on both front feet. This horse, if you actually take a measurement, this horse has a shorter inside wall than the outside wall. As a farrier, we're taught to balance that out. We're taught to have the same length of wall laterally as we do medially. This horse is not a farrier and it didn't go to shoeing school. It disagrees with us. And we need to learn to read these horses, read these conformations, and shoe accordingly. Conformation is absolutely critical. Another horse, another problem, but again, conformation. This red line indicates where that hoof wall should be. It's obviously not. When you draw a line from the coronary band straight down, that's where your foot should be to support the fetlock joint and up higher into the hock joint. On the outside, this wall should be straight down. And again, on this foot, obviously it's not. It's a very twisted, slewed foot to the outside. This horse has cow hocks. It toes out. And the previous farriers have been leaving this wall longer and longer, trying to pull that horse to the inside and straighten it out. This horse will never be straight. We have to shoot a conformation. So now what's going to happen, this inside heel is severely compromised and rolled under. This outside heel has been very crushed. You can see here, there's an entire patch that has been taken out. This is called debridement. This horse has such a rolled under heel on this side. We're removing a piece of hoof wall, and the vet came in and did this. This is not something that I as a farrier am comfortable doing, because you're right down into sensitive tissue. I work on the external parts of the foot. So in this case, the vet collaborated with me and came in and did the debridement, opened up that foot, thinned that wall out so that it has a lot of expansion on here now. You can see there's a lot of room of the shoe exposed out here. We're going to get even more than that yet. Bottom side of that shoe, we used a heart bar shoe so that the pressure of this tongue of steel is going to put directly on the frog, take a lot of pressure off of this heel. We're going to float that heel, which means we're removing all the pressure. It has to go somewhere. We still have to support this horse. So that's what this heart bar does. We have support all the way around to about here and then through this heart bar area. When you look at the side, this hoof wall has been removed and there's actually a gap. I could almost stick my finger between the bottom of this hoof wall and the shoe itself. We used a leather pad. It's a 1/4 inch thick leather pad to elevate that foot. That gave us another 1/4 inch that we can float, that we can remove pressure. All I could take off was this much hoof wall, and then you run into sensitive tissue, so you can only remove so much foot. So artificial, we have elevated with this pad, and they gave us another 1/4 inch because the pad also has been cut away. The idea here now is with this debridement and with this float, that heel can drop and move to the outside and give tremendous relief to all of the internal structures. This is a before and after of what we started with. Could you reach and scoot this over a little bit, that projector, so this foot is on the screen? Oh, thank you very much. That's perfect. As an after, you can see how much more this is over here for support. There's your shoe, a full 1/4 inch to the inside to come and hold up this wall. This side is much straighter than here. The horse is not correct. This is one shoeing. This is the initial shoeing. We can't fix this horse in one shoeing. It was 2 years getting this way. So we need at least 6 or 8 months to get this regrown and get it out correctly. But this is the first step. We're back to small shoes again. This shoe stops at the heel of the foot. But there's where the bulb is. We need a whole lot more shoe for support on this. This is a horse that was purchased by one of my clients, brought in, and they didn't understand why it was lame. Well, this is why it's lame. Here's what it looks like on the underside. And again, it doesn't even come back and cover the end of the heels on that horse. Now, as this horse steps forward, it rocks off the back of the heels of those shoes, and that pulls all the flexor tendons, and it's very uncomfortable. These horses aren't stupid, they don't do that. They shorten up their stride. In this case, he's got so much bruising under here that he's very sore. When we pull the shoe off, that long old toe, you've got a lot of trauma here where it's like lifting up on the end of your fingernail and pulling on it. And you're actually getting separation of the hoof wall there. That's what the bruising is from. Very similar to what happens on a laminitic horse, but from a mechanical reason rather than from having the coffin bone itself rotate on the inside. This crack is caused by extreme pressure. The longer your fingernail is, the more it splits and cracks and peels back. The hoof wall is the same way. The longer that toe, the more it's going to split and crack. Here's the same foot trimmed. We've got bruising from here all the way around. That's going to take several shoeings, 3 or 4 shoeings, before all of that bruising grows out and we have a normal white line. You can still see there's a little bit of that crack there. Probably the next trimming, that crack will come out. It took a long time to get that horse this bad. It's going to take a long time to fix him. This top shoe is the shoe that horse was wearing. The bottom shoe is what I'm going to put on. That is 2 sizes increase. That's huge. Sad to say about my chosen profession, this is not unusual for me to have to increase 2 shoe sizes. On top of using the shoe that's 2 sizes longer, I set it back as far as I can. There's this much hoof wall, that's 3/8 of an inch of hoof wall coming off the front of that horse, besides extending the shoe back for additional length. Here's that new large shoe on there. We've got good support here under the heels. We've got a good solid sole and frog. There's the horse standing down. Yes, that's a lot of shoe sticking out. Yes, you turn this horse out in the mud, he's going to pull that shoe. Yes, if he steps sideways and catches himself, he's going to pull the shoe. Well, I can shoe this horse to move well and stay sound, or I can shoe this horse to keep its shoes on. But I can't do both. And it's much more important that we put the shoe out here for support, get this horse healed up. As his foot opens up, we can start fitting that shoe closer and closer. His foot will come out towards the edge of that shoe, and we won't have this issue several months from now, 3, 4, 5 months from now. In the meantime, this is the only way we're going to get this horse fixed up, is to expose the shoe, and if he jerks the shoe off, he jerks the shoe off. We'll come back and nail it on. But that's the way it's going to go. It is amazing how quickly this hoof will move from here to the edge of that shoe. Lots of times I can expose a shoe like that, and in 2 to 3 weeks, those heels have opened up so much they're way over here. Now we've got both feet done. You can see from this back view now where we're almost under that bulb. I'd like a longer shoe on them than that even, but you know, we gotta be a little bit careful here. This is a huge change, and you can change your horse too much. So I do as much as I can. Sometimes I can't get it all in the first go around. I'll be back to shoe this horse again. We can always increase shoes size a second time if we need to. Here's the same shoeing job from the front. Now something else I'd like to point out on these feet, you can see where the nail holes were, but they're not an open hole anymore. When I shoe a horse, I always come in afterwards with some wood putty and I fill those nail holes in. With those holes open, that's allowing bacteria to get from the top of that hoof down inside. It can be detrimental to horses' feet. I started closing holes up on horses that had horrible feet, brittle feet, feet that were way too wet, hoof walls that crumbled. It made such a difference on them. One day the light bulb comes on and said, duh, we can prevent all these problems, and you start filling in all the holes. Within 6 months, 80% of my hoof issues had disappeared because the holes were filled in and the hoof walls protected. That's a very small thing to do with a little bit of wood putty, but it makes a huge difference on these horses. We got a shiny foot on here. I didn't shine it up for presenting to you guys. I put a hoof dressing on the horses that I shoe. As I rasp, you're opening up pores. And remember, we set this shoe back a lot. I rasped off a whole bunch of foot on this horse. So we've opened up the pores of that hoof wall. Depending on the time of year, depending on the temperature, depending on the rainfall, once you open those pores up, you either rapidly lose a lot of moisture to this foot and it dries out excessively, or it absorbs a lot of moisture through those open pores and you get a very, very soft, wet foot that then wants to mushroom and spread out. By putting a hoof dressing on, it'll close and seal, and you maintain normal moisture in these feet. Typically, that's a one-time application while I am there. A couple of days of being exposed to the air, and those pores will close up, and they'll solidify, and then it's no longer an issue. But it is a very important fact. Here's a before and after. This horse has a terrible time picking his feet up and getting out of the way. This horse has very sore tendons and joints. Same horse here now, within 2 or 3 days, all this horse will have left in 2 or 3 days is sore muscles. And I can promise you, you change your shoeing like this, you're going to develop sore chest muscles, sore shoulder muscles, sore neck muscles. His back will get tightened up, his hips are going to get sore. This horse will move so differently than he did over here. He's using muscles that he has not used in a long time. You and I do a new physical activity, we get stiff and sore and achy. And the horses do the same thing. So over the next couple of weeks, when you have this much adjustment to a foot, anticipate sore, achy muscles. We're not screwing up tendons, we're not making horses lame, but we're going to have to develop new muscles. Go from a foot like this to a foot like that. Photograph your horse, and 3 months later, photograph it again and look at the difference in your top line. If we follow everything that I've talked of on these really sore horses, you end up with horses like these driving horses. They're sound, they're moving well, they're hitting the ground hard, they're taking a long stride, their heads are up, their ears are up, they're alert, they're looking for what's my next job. They're hot and sweaty, they've been going hard on a marathon course, they don't care, they're ready to roll. That's my goal to have on all of my client horses.